safe situation, because there's a lot to cover here, and we're going to get into that. So thanks for joining us this morning for Firearms Friday. Let's do a little something here. We ran out of music, my man. Good morning. All right, so how we doing this morning, brother?
It's finally starting to feel like fall. Speaking of fall, there's college football. I used to care about pro, but pro football told me they didn't want my business. And so, you know what? I listened to them. Wait a minute.
Yes, and when somebody tells you they don't want your bunny, you should listen to them. And, in that same vein, we are going to be talking about the Liberty Safe situation this morning. I'm just going to pop right into this article. So, Gun Safe Company hit
with... Yes, go dogs.
Yes, go dogs. Gun Safe Company hit with backlash for providing FBI with code to customers safe. The gun safe company Liberty Safe is facing intense backlash after providing the Federal Bureau of Investigation with the password to a customer safe at the law enforcement agency's request, and conservative influencers are now calling for boycotting the brand. Now, there's some context here that is important. This is a tweet from the Hodge twins, which is how this even got rolling in the news to begin with. Last week, a friend of ours was raided by the feds over January 6th. His name is Nathan Hughes, and he's from Fayetteville, Arkansas, the Post reads, which notes in the report that the feds called the manufacturer of his Liberty gun safe and got the passcode to get into it, all for protesting at the Capitol over 2.5 years ago. Now, that is an important piece of the context here, is the particular piece of investigation that the feds went after this guy on is, you were at the you were on public property using free speech to petition the government for redress of grievances, and we don't like it when you have rights. So before we can even have a conversation about how wrong the safe company was here, the fact is, this is a fruit of the poisonous tree situation. The FBI did not have a legitimate warrant. They might have had a duly sworn warrant. But for a warrant to be signed by a judge under such spurious circumstances, right? I'm reminded of the FISA court situation. There were FISA warrants that were issued for federal agencies to conduct espionage against a sitting president And we now know that above and beyond that being highly suspicious and offensive to begin with, offensive to the rule of law, the fact of the matter is that the FISA warrants that were sworn in order to allow American intelligence agencies to conduct espionage against America, that those warrants were ill-gotten, that those warrants were produced through malicious, volitional acts of fraud. In this case, you've got the feds coming in with a warrant to the safe company because they're conducting an investigation into a person having liberties. Ironically, the name of the company is Liberty Safe. So before we even get into the fuck you for giving them my safe code, the FBI had no business at all. And I would contend that the agents involved here and the judge that signed the warrant have committed crimes which need investigation and prosecution in and of themselves. Now go forward to the question of the safe company giving up the code. I'm not happy about the idea, and Cameron's going to argue with me on this a little bit, and we're going to have an interesting conversation on that. I'm not happy about the idea of the safe company having the code to begin with. Now, according to the story, what the safe company gave the FBI is not the code to the man's safe, but rather the master code that just unlocks their safes. So that in and of itself is a problem as far as I'm concerned. Once I own a safe, I expect that safe to be, I don't know, safe.
I mean, it would be. Before this point, this had never happened before. And if the FBI had called, I'm going to use a very simple example, but if the FBI had called a locksmith, and the locksmith had come and opened the safe. Now, obviously, there is some difference between the safe company having some kind of an override code for your safe and the safe company saying, no, screw you, call a locksmith. But there's actually a reason why the safe company would have access to the safe, and I've unfortunately experienced it. I lost a key to a gun safe. I lost a key to a gun safe that my dad gave me. And contact the safe manufacturer if I'm willing to fill out some paperwork and pay some money. Like, it's not just, hey, oopsie poopsie, I need a key to my gun safe. And the gun safe company goes, well, gosh, let me just put it in the mail to you. That's not how that happens. But it's actually a feature, not a bug, that they can still get into these safes after they sell you the safe. And it's for situations exactly such as this. It's my understanding that what happened here is Liberty...
Well, no, it's for situations like yours. Where you,
that's what it says.
You, the rightful owner.
Yes, that's
just to clarify, for situations like yours where the rightful owner of the safe has misplaced his key.
Yes,
not for situations like the one that we're talking about as the topic of the show, which is where the FBI has decided to conduct illegal searches to get into your safe. Just to clarify, I'm eschewing ambiguity for the audience.
Okay, all right.
I'm not making criticisms of you. I'm eschewing ambiguity that could be taken from the audience. Love you guys. Want to make sure we're clear on everything.
So anyhow, what I think happened here is that, look, I could be wrong. I hate reading legalese. It's one of the few things I just don't enjoy immersing myself in, you know. But it's my understanding that the government called Liberty Safes and said, oh my God, we've got like this total counterterrorism thing that we're doing, and we've got warrants, and we're pretty sure that, you know, we're pretty sure that they got that they've got one of your safes there, and we need to be able to get into it as part of this like whole counterterrorism thing, and we've totally got a warrant to search their house for counterterrorism stuff. And Liberty Safes went,
he just said, Alex, shut up, you're getting ahead of me. I already have that article up.
And yes, I
was going to surprise him with it.
No, you weren't going to surprise me with it, because I'm actually about to include that in what I'm about to say. All right. Anyhow.
Yeah, but we need jokes. We're too serious this morning.
Anyhow. So Liberty Safe said, yeah, man, okay, you're doing like, this investigation, and you have warrants and you need our help. Sure, we'll help. I don't think Liberty Safe said, yeah, screw those January 6 guys. I can't wait to give you the code to the safe. I think this was legitimately one of those comedy of error type of things that just happened to work out this way to make Liberty Safes look real bad. And part of the reason why I think that is the way Liberty Safe responded. Like, it took them, 24 to 48 hours to put out a statement that said, whoa. Look,
we're sorry. We got this one wrong, and here's how we're going to fix it.
We're sorry. Our bad. Yeah, we totally maintain a database of every safe we've ever sold. And if you want your name deleted out of that database, you just let us know, and we will wipe that motherfucker for you.
Yeah. So there's a lot in the comments that I want to get to. And yeah, we may not manage to get to a DGU today. So I'll start from the bottom and work up. Danny says, and do they tell you how they got the warrant when they serve a warrant, or do they just say a judge signed this, get out of the way? Okay, here's the thing about a warrant. Go ahead.
I promise they just say, get out of the way.
Correct. And that's when you say, no, stop, motherfucker. If they come and knock on the door and say, I've got a warrant to search the house, okay, gotcha. I will comply with the warrant. I will, under duress, under threat of force and violence and death, because you are here to tell me that, I will allow you to enter my property and search my home, or I will be murdered for my trouble. But I am going to read the warrant before you enter the home. You're presenting me with a legal document. I have the right to read this document that has been presented to me. Okay? That falls under the right to face your accuser. You read that warrant, because a warrant, a search warrant, must be very explicit and specific. I would be amazed if the warrant in this case actually specifically named the safe, which, in order for them to breach the safe, it must do. Okay, so they come knocking on the door. Okay, I will comply, because I don't want to get murdered on my front porch. But you're going to stand there and wait while I read this warrant. I will know, and I'm going to hover over your ass and watch you, and you are going to search exactly what is clearly specified in this warrant. So that's thing one. And then up here, Xander says, you actually don't need to do that. Just change your own code. You can do that with any digital access safe. And he said, there is no master code. If there were, you may as well hand over your safe today. So according to the Hodge twins no, I'm sorry, not according to the Hodge twins. According to Nathan Hughes, the guy who was searched, Liberty Safe gave the FBI a master code to get into my own gun safe. Now, it may be that language is not adequately specific, in my opinion. I doubt that what he means is that there is a master code where it's one ring to rule them all. This 10-digit number opens all Liberty gun safes. More likely, there's a master or backup combination that they have on file for each safe individually. So if, for example, an illegal search were to reveal the one master code, that would obviously compromise all Liberty safes forever and eternity. But if they need the one master code for that individual particular safe identified by serial number, then that makes the whole thing a little more secure. So,
well, it's also possible that there's just a little bit of stuff that got lost in translation here. If I came into your house and magically opened your safe, would it matter if I used some master code or happen to have figured out a way what your code is? From your perspective, it would look like I had some master code.
Correct. And so Xander Max says, none of my safes use the code they came with from the factory. And that's the thing here is, apparently this guy had changed his code to his own code. He's not using the factory code, and they still have a master code that can get into that one safe specifically. And so they've got a code from safe to safe. Liberty's response, they did that thing to me. They switched it up with a different article there. Okay, so Liberty has said its customers will now be able to have the records of their safe combinations expunged after the company faced growing backlash for handing over the access code to one of the safes the FBI had. So the company right here is telling you that they do in fact have a record of safe combinations. And one can only extrapolate from that, coupled with Hughes' statement that there is a backup code for each safe. And in all fairness, for the reasons that Cameron described earlier, I own a safe. I lost my key. I forgot my combination, and I need help getting into my safe. I'd like to have a backup plan. Now, for my taste, a backup plan is a copy of the key in a separate, secure location.
I see. Y'all, I've literally lost a gun key safe. And when I say I've lost a gun key safe, I had a backup.
You do mean a gun safe key.
Well, whatever.
Losing a gun key
I'm
safe
so
is
embarrassed.
a different matter.
I'm so embarrassed that this actually happened to me. But it was just the perfect comedy of errors of things that caused it to happen. I had one key on my key ring, and I had another key hidden in my apartment in a really specific place. I had two keys, and everything that could go wrong went wrong.
So Phantom Fixer asks, so the FBI had the safe serial number before they enter the home. That we're actually not clear on the order of operations there. And Alex says they're too expensive. They're good, but very expensive. And so let me get into my closing thoughts on this. And I'm hoping Cameron has some pushback, because I'd like to argue about this position a little bit. I'm on board. I'm in. I think that I say Liberty Safe, they should get the Bud Light treatment. Their apology is insufficient. Their corrective measure is insufficient. The fact is that they have sinned. They have committed the error. The error they've committed is they have betrayed their customer base, just like Bud Light did. Bud Light, what made the Bud Light thing so egregious is they explicitly, specifically, and directly targeted their core customer base and betrayed them. After that, it's very, very difficult to trust another person, right? This is your cheating wife coming to you after you caught her for the third time and saying, "I'll never do it again, baby. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Please keep buying me groceries." No, we're done. Bye-bye. And here's why. The left is very, very good at targeting companies for boycotts. But here's the funny thing. Like we've talked about before, when the Bud Light story first went off, and Whoopi Goldberg famously said, y'all don't need to worry about these right-wing nut jobs. Y'all need to fear us. And she mentioned the riots. She mentioned the Summer of Love and all the firebombing. And this is true. Yes, it's true. If you offend the left, they will set you on fire. It is time, it is beyond time to really send the message. There will be no quarter. If you offend Americans, we will stop buying your product. A bunch of lefty terrorists with firebombs managed to do somewhere between $2 and $3 billion of property damage in the course of a year of burning down buildings, businesses, and federal buildings. Murdered several officers, dozens of civilians, right? Managed to deal $2 to $3 billion worth of damage to property and economic infrastructure. Bud Light hired a tranny that targets children for propagandization and grooming, and overnight we took away their brand. We ended their billion-dollar enterprise by just saying, fine, we're done with you. No more. And the reason I say this is Bud Light went the way Bud Light went, and then Target did the thing Target did with their tuckable bikinis or whatever. And now you've got Liberty Safes making the same mistake. Liberty Safe just made this error in support of the illicit operation to prosecute and persecute American citizens for the offense of having free speech, for the offense of practicing the right to petition the government for redress of grievances, for the offense of peacefully assembling on public property. It may be a small error. It may be that Liberty Safe acted in good faith and committed this error. But the fact is, the enemy plays so dirty that every American company, American or not, needs to be put on notice now that we will not tolerate even minor infractions in this war for the future of liberty, prosperity, and the safety of our children. If you backtrack, if you backslide, if you offer aid and comfort to the enemy, we will let you starve. Essentially, I'm talking about an economic holodomor for the opponents of liberty and prosperity, like Bud Light, Target, and now Liberty Safes. And there can be no forgiveness. They have to be left to die on the vine to make the point that this is what is in store for you if you continue to sacrifice your companies on the altar of the cult of diversity, inclusion, and equity, and ESG.
Okay. Liberty Safes is not Bud Light. Bro, they're not even in the same universe. You talked about intent. And intent's important because Bud Light did what they did on purpose. Bud Light decided. In fact, that one, I forget her name, but that one chick even came out and was like, oh my God, we have such a frat boy image and we need to get rid of it. You know? Like, that was done on purpose. That was done to deliberately insult people like you and I, even though I can't even tell you the last time I drank a Bud Light. Literally.
Oh yeah, it's probably it's been a while. I certainly haven't had one this year.
And let's not forget that Liberty Safes came out real quick and went, whoa, 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 whoa. This is not at all what we intended. So if you guys want to delete yourselves out of our database, here's how you do it. Whereas that's not at all what happened with Bud Light. What happened with Bud Light is that marketing chick went on news shows and was like, oh yeah, we're doing this on purpose. And, you know, in fact, as you pointed out, like the Whoopi Goldbergs of the world came out and were like, yeah, well, you know what? Liberals drink beer too. So there's that.
Yes, but by the numbers, they clearly don't drink enough beer.
That's correct. But look, the point is...
They also don't buy safes.
The point is to lump in Liberty safes as though this is some kind of ESG woke virtue signal thing. That doesn't even appear to be what happened here. What does appear to be the thing that happened here is Liberty Safe's got a call. Like, I'm going to eschew the sarcasm just to make the point. Is Liberty Safe's got a call and said, hey, we have a warrant for felonies with somebody that we think is potentially dangerous. And it would just be super helpful if we could get this information.
Right. And that's actually another thing that we need to address real quick. The police had a warrant to search a property. They went to Liberty Safes and said, hey, we have a warrant to search a property.
Mm-hmm.
And the correct answer, if somebody says, hey, we have a warrant to search a property, like, for example, if the police came and knocked on my door and said, hey, we have a warrant to search your neighbor's property, I'm going to look at them and say, what the fuck does that have to do with me? Liberty Safes had no legal obligation to submit to the warrant. The warrant is for the property in question. If there were a subpoena for the information from a judge, that'd be a different matter. Liberty Safes chose, without being compelled by law, by just being told, hey, we have a warrant to search this guy's property. Unless there was a subpoena from a judge for that particular piece of information, Liberty Safes did not have any legal obligation to serve that warrant. Because the warrant is for the specific property. And that is actually the important distinction between whether they got the code from Liberty Safes or whether the FBI used their own safe cracker to open the safe.
Well, okay,
So they made that choice. And as far as they're not the same as Bud Light, I don't disagree. What Bud Light did, they did on purpose, and they continued to double down on doing it on purpose. But the thing that they have in common is they made the first mistake to begin with, and that's the issue that needs to be addressed, is these companies have got to be put on notice to stop making the initial mistake. That the initial mistake will not be forgiven.
Yeah, but this is not the same mistake. It's very easy for you to say, don't make the mistake of going down the woke bullshit rabbit hole.
Yes, it is. And it's very easy not to make that mistake.
Exactly. But what I'm saying is, in this case, look, I don't know if you've noticed, but the FBI is willing to bend the truth to get what they want.
Yes, they are.
Okay, so if the FBI calls up and says, hey, we're trying to bully a J6 protester, give us his safe code, Liberty Safe says, fuck off. The FBI calls up and presents the information in a very specific way. We've got a felony, and you talked about the warrant.
I would love to see the warrant. Yes.
And Xander beat me to the punch, okay? You talk about the warrant. The warrant could have been written in such a way as to allow them to include the safe in their search. If you've been accused of having a drug operation, the warrant might say the property, the things inside the property, and all things inside the property that could be used in drug production. If the cops don't know that you've got a secret locked room in your basement where you cook your meth, which don't do, by the way, because meth can explode.
Yeah, you want to ventilate that shit. You want heavy.
Okay. But if they don't know that you've got a secret locked room in your basement where you cook your meth, they can't put that on the warrant.
Right.
Okay. And let's say they're looking for documents. Let's say they're looking for small pieces of paper that could that could indicate your guilt. Well, a gun safe would be a fantastic place to hide small pieces of paper that could prove your guilt. So to say, oh, well, it wasn't on the warrant, fuck you, either the gun safe was on the warrant or something that could be considered the gun safe was on the warrant. And as Xander Mack said, I think Liberty Safes were acting in good faith. I think they got a call from the FBI, say, hey, we've got felonies, we've got warrants, help us out. We're going to go do a raid. We need to get inside this safe. It'll make it easier on everybody if we had the code. I guarantee you Liberty thought that what they were doing was actually the smart play.
And you're probably right there. The problem here is not necessarily that Liberty intentionally committed an act of evil, but that they failed because they're ill-informed. The fact is, Liberty is a large company. They can afford the lawyers. And what you have now learned is that Liberty, the safe company, will not fight for you. They will just, they'll just throw you under the bus. They're not interested in your rights. They're a wet blanket that will just give it up.
I mean, even that I'd say is not necessarily an accurate characterization. If somebody comes to you, now you are different. But as far as the average you, especially the average law-abiding citizen that has little to no experience with the criminal justice system, most people that are inherently good people, you know, they talk to cops.
Yes.
If a cop asks them...
They're incredibly vulnerable to our corrupt justice system.
Look, they talk to cops. If a cop asks them a question, they tend to answer the question because they think, well, I'm not a criminal. There's nothing wrong with talking to cops. And even if I made a mistake, it was just a mistake. We could get it worked out. I'm a good guy. That's a cop. They have no idea that what they're doing is potentially incriminating themselves on God knows how many charges because they don't have the criminal mindset. And I would argue, given you brought up those FISA warrants, and that's a fantastic example here. Hey, man, those FISA warrants look good. They're full of shit, and they were gotten under let's say, less than ethical circumstances.
You mean explicit intentional fraud? Yes.
Yes. But they look good. If you were to hand those FISA warrants to a lawyer in a vacuum, the lawyer would probably look at them and go, okay, these are clean. So I would contend that Liberty Safes, being the big company, being the company that sells safes for thousands of dollars, that does store customers' sensitive information on file, basically forever, Liberty Safes got this call. And they said, oh, man, we'd love to help. Let us run this through legal real quick.
Yeah,
and they did.
That is the correct answer, is to run it through legal. As soon as you hear from the FBI, as a company, you run that shit through legal.
And what I'm saying is they almost certainly did run it through legal, and their legal department said, yeah, this looks legit.
Ooh, I doubt that.
Why?
Because you're asking me to believe that you've got a lawyer who wants to make money, which involves going to court and winning cases, looked at a warrant and didn't say, this isn't a subpoena. This has nothing to do with us. That's the lawyer's job, is to see shit like that. I strongly doubt it went through legal and
But
came
if the
back
warrant includes searching things like the safe, that's what I'm talking about.
That in no way entails any legal responsibility on the part of Liberty Safe to provide the information to the FBI. They have a warrant to search that safe, to search that man's property.
Okay.
That in no way compels Liberty Safe to give them anything. Like I say, if you come knocking on my door and say, "Hey, we have a warrant to search your neighbor's house,"
that's a terrible example.
It's not.
It's a terrible example.
It's not.
Yes.
Liberty was presented as this story seems to suggest. Maybe they haven't mentioned a subpoena that exists, but if the warrant says we have a warrant to search this address, this specific property,
yes,
that in no way entails that you get to call Microsoft and ask them for the password to the computer in the house. You could call them and ask, but they are in no way compelled by the law to do it. The same thing applies to the safe with the code. The warrant covers that piece of property. That doesn't mean that you get to call Whirlpool and ask them how to unlock my oven because you don't know how to get it off the cleaning cycle. They don't have to tell you shit. That warrant is for the property and the named individual and the named pieces in that way. See, Xander, Matt, Chris isn't wrong, and they can even fight a subpoena the way Apple did. Exactly. You can take, like, Apple took the subpoena and said, fuck no, and took them to court over it.
Yeah, Apple's identity is about retaining your information at all costs.
Liberty Safe's identity is about you securing your property within a locked container.
That's correct.
Safely.
But that's correct. But again, going back to, this is not, we want to search your neighbor's house. This is, we want to search your house.
No, it's not. It's absolutely not. This safe was not in a Liberty Safe showroom. It was in the home of Nathan Hughes.
Exactly. And it was a Liberty Safe. So they contacted Liberty Safe and said, can you help?
And Liberty Safe was in no way required by law to do so.
I didn't say they were required.
Then what are we arguing? You're sitting here telling me I'm wrong.
I don't know. You're the one who said I said it was required. I never did.
Go ahead. Go ahead and finish then.
I'm not real sure what you want me to finish. I never said it was required. The point that I was making is that if they got a warrant that said this is for a felony thing, they send it through all their channels and everybody says this looks like it checks out. Let's help. Just a few years ago.
No, that's what I'm saying. There's no way the legal team said this checks out. Let's throw our customer under the bus without a subpoena. There's no way the legal team agrees to that. It's a warrant. It's not a subpoena. The warrant names a specific location. That's got fuck all to do with Liberty. The fact that they made the safe has nothing to do with the FBI's authority to compromise the security of that object. Liberty decided to help the FBI for no reason other than they thought it would be nice.
Yes.
They decided to throw their customer under the bus and say we are less interested in the security of a safe that we have guaranteed is a safe location for the storage of your materials in your home. We are less interested in that than we are in just sucking the first black boot that's put on our face.
See, you're assuming that they just decided to throw the customer under the bus. There's a reason why I framed this in terms of the FBI.
No, you're assuming that. You said that the legal team said it was okay.
You literally just said they decided to throw their customer under the bus.
Yes, they did.
4 sentences. Okay.
And you're telling me that you think that the legal team
maybe let me finish instead of arguing against straw men that I didn't put up. I never said, okay, the straw man thing was a cheap shot. I shouldn't have done. I thought that would come across a lot funnier. I thought it would come across a lot funnier than it actually did. So let me retract that. Okay. But what I'm saying is if the FBI was willing to be dishonest, if I come to you and say, I have a warrant, let me give you all this context that makes it sound 10 times worse than it actually is, you could make somebody out to be a monster. But if I come to you and say, I have a warrant and it's not really that big of a deal, those are two completely different things.
You were specifically talking about it being cleared up through legal and legal saying this is good to go. Stop. What I said was, and you keep doing that right there, I start to say something, you steamroll me. So yeah. You stopped. Okay, fine. Okay, go ahead.
No, but look, what I said was they sent it through legal and legal said it was okay. Not that it was great, not that they had to comply, but there's this whole other world where They send it to legal and say, legal, are we doing anything wrong by giving out this information? And legal says, no, you're not doing anything wrong by giving out this information. This looks like a legit warrant, and you could choose to help out the FBI.
Okay. Are you done?
I mean, that's all.
Are you done?
I mean, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So nothing I've said has mischaracterized what you said. Your point is that the warrant was sent. You're saying that the warrant was sent through legal. Legal said there's nothing wrong with this. It's okay to help out the FBI. And you started all that with maybe they framed it like this or they phrased it like this to make this guy look like a monster, etc. So legal didn't read the warrant?
Legal did read the warrant.
Okay, so if legal read the warrant, it's a warrant. And you're telling me that the lawyers didn't say, hold on, guys, this is a warrant. It's got fuck all to do with us. They need a subpoena. And then we need to fight that in court.
Yes.
Yes. So Liberty chose
that. Yes.
Without being compelled by law.
Again, yes.
To give up, to just surrender the guarantee on their safe.
That's where I'm arguing with you right there, that they're just deciding to surrender. Just a few years ago, this exact same action, before we had Kyle Rittenhouse, before we had January 6th, before we had mountains of evidence that the FBI currently actively lies their ass off all over the place, this exact same thing could have happened 5 years ago, and Liberty wouldn't have gotten an ounce of pushback. Liberty would have been seen as doing a good citizen's duty, helping out the FBI that came to him and said they had a felony warrant.
Not if it was pushed through legal. Legal would have said, that's a warrant. That's got nothing to do with this company. You bring a subpoena for our records.
Okay. I guess you just know so much more about the law than I do.
Yes.
Okay, sure.
I mean, okay. All right. We got to put a pin in it there because I got to get down the road. It's the weekend. Don't die.